Welcome to the Rugby Obsession podcast. If you're a true rugby fanatic like us and love geeking out over the finer points of the game, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future deep dives.
Looking forward to it.
Today we're going to unpack all the exciting changes in the World Rugby rankings after round 4 of the Six Nations.
Sounds good.
You've sent over some really interesting articles and notes, and we're going to break down what these ranking shifts mean for the top teams, especially as we look ahead to the rest of the tournament.
Right.
So let's kick things off by talking about Ireland's, well, I guess you could say missed opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Ireland's match against France was a big one. And as those articles point out, it had a huge impact on their ranking. A decisive win there could have put them incredibly close to South Africa for a top spot, like within 29-0 points.
Wow, that's a tiny margin at that level of competition. It really emphasizes how every match counts.
It does. And that result against France means their hopes of claiming that #1 spot are on hold for now.
Definitely. But on the other side of that result, France's dominant win, 42-27, wasn't just important for their Six Nations journey. It also had a ripple effect on the world rankings, moving them further up the ladder to solidify their fourth-place position.
Yeah, that win was a big statement, and it's going to make the other top teams pay attention.
Absolutely. Now, Scotland also had a victory in round 4, beating Wales 35-29. Did their win affect their ranking at all?
That's interesting, actually. Even though they won, their 7th-place ranking stayed the same.
Oh, really? I would have assumed a win automatically means moving up. Why is that?
Well, it all comes down to the way the ranking system works. Since Wales is currently ranked lower than Scotland, and the margin of victory wasn't that large, Scotland didn't earn enough ranking points to jump ahead of anyone. The system really favors wins against higher-ranked opponents, or wins with a big point difference.
I see. It's all about the strength of the competition. So it's not just about winning, it's about who you beat and how convincingly you do it. All right, let's move on to England. Your notes mentioned that even if they had beaten Italy in round 4, their 6th-place ranking wouldn't have improved. Can you explain why that is?
Sure. Even with a win against Italy, England would have only gained about 0.11 points. It just wouldn't have been enough to move them up from 6th.
So that match was more about their position in the Six Nations table, not so much their global ranking.
Precisely.
Now, let's talk about Italy. They're currently ranked 10th, but there's a chance they could make a pretty big jump, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a really exciting possibility. If Italy were to secure a significant victory, like winning by more than 15 points, against England in a future match, they could actually climb above Fiji and break into the top 10.
Wow, that would be amazing for Italian rugby. It shows how much they've been improving on the world stage. And hey, if you're as captivated by these ranking shakeups as we are, make sure to subscribe to Rugby Obsession so you don't miss any of our analyses.
Definitely subscribe.
Okay, so we've talked about the possibility of teams moving up, but what about the risk of dropping down? England's 6th-place ranking isn't totally safe, is it?
No, it's not. The data suggests that if England were to lose heavily to Scotland by more than 15 points in a future game, they could actually fall below Scotland in the rankings. And Australia, who is right behind them, could potentially overtake them as well.
It's a real nail-biter at the top. To recap, here's what the top 10 of the World Rugby rankings looks like after round 4.
South Africa is still at the top, followed by New Zealand, then Ireland, France, Argentina, England, Scotland, Australia, Fiji, and Italy.
So despite Ireland's close call, South Africa remains the #1 team. Your sources highlighted that Ireland's loss actually helped to solidify the Springboks' position, with New Zealand emerging as their closest challenger.
That's right. While Ireland could have closed the gap, that loss to France gave South Africa some breathing room, putting New Zealand in the position to potentially challenge for the top spot.
And with round 5 of the Six Nations coming up, we could see even more movement in the rankings.
Definitely. The upcoming matches, Italy versus Ireland, Wales versus England, and France versus Scotland, all have the potential to shake things up. While we can't predict the exact outcomes, it's clear that there's still a lot of excitement to come in terms of the rankings.
For sure. Knowing that every game has these global ranking implications makes it even more thrilling.
Yeah.
So out of all these ranking changes and potential future shifts, what stood out to you the most?
I think what's most fascinating is how small the margins can be between teams and how one result can completely change things. Ireland almost reaching the top spot and Italy's chance to break into the top 10 with a big win, it just shows how dynamic these rankings are.
Absolutely. Every match matters, and those rankings are constantly evolving. Now, we'd love to hear from you, our listeners. What were your biggest takeaways from these ranking changes? Anything that surprised you? Share your thoughts in the comments. We always appreciate your perspective.
Yes, we're really curious to know what stood out to you. Did any team's situation or potential change particularly resonate with you?
And that wraps up our deep dive into the World Rugby rankings after a thrilling round 4 of the Six Nations. Hopefully, you've gained a clearer understanding of the key developments and potential future scenarios. There's a lot to look forward to as we head into the final round. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to the Rugby Obsession podcast for more in-depth analyses and discussions.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rugby Obsession podcast. We can't wait to have you back for our next episode.